Every year there's another Inside Xbox, and every year I come out of it a little bit disappointed because while there are some decent announcements whenever there's an Inside Xbox conference, a lot of it just focuses on games that were already announced in E3 or in some other conference that we hadn't really heard about before. But sometimes you'll get a breath of fresh air and they'll announce something that you did not know anything about. I actually wasn't really keeping up, so I did not know this conference was going to happen. So I caught up, so I watched it today, and a lot of it is what you might expect, such as Madden, some of these racing games, such as Forza, or some other exclusive Xbox exclusive title. I've never really cared much for those, but there were at least 3 major games that were announced during the Inside Xbox conference that really caught my attention. One of the ones that I really was I did not expect, but I have been really trying to keep up with for a long time, was the game Scorn. Scorn was a game that caught my attention when it was first announced because it's heavily inspired by H.R. Geiger and has a lot of Geiger esque environments, and it's also kind of like, it's a shooter. It's this weird mix of it's very unique with its approach, and I really wanted to see this game come out or to get any sort of updates on it, but this is all we really get is a new pre-rendered trailer. And I mean, it's better than nothing because we haven't really gotten anything on Scorn aside from that gameplay we saw back in 2018, and ever since then we haven't really gotten any updates about this game. So I was really excited to finally see a new CG trailer for Scorn. I'm not exactly sure if this is going to be an Xbox exclusive, but supposedly it's going to be launching on the Xbox Series X. I'm kind of iffy on that. I don't mind it launching on there, but I feel like this is going to probably be some kind of a timed exclusive. I don't think they originally intended for this to be on the Series X. I think this was going to be some kind of a multi-plat, but I don't know. It's probably not going to sell me on the Series X if it's going to end up being an exclusive in general and not really ever going to come out for any other platform. But I don't know. This is still not going to sell me on the system. It does look like a really great game, but I think I'm going to wait and see if there's going to be any more gameplay videos that come out for this, or any new information on it. I just have a feeling this is probably going to, if anything, be a timed exclusive. I can't believe it's going to be an exclusive forever on the Series X, and not to mention everything that ends up being a quote-unquote exclusive for Xbox eventually goes to PC anyway. So I wouldn't expect Scorn to be an exclusive on the Xbox forever. Next up is a game that also caught my interest, called Scarlett Nexus. This is being worked on by the people behind the Tales of franchise, and I at first thought this was like one of the some of the God Eater developers or Code Vein, because it immediately kind of gave me that impression. But no, this is some of the Tales of people, which kind of looks like that as well. Like it could be a Tales of game, but it's more like this futuristic, like cyberpunk type setting. It's hard to explain. It obviously looks like an action RPG, or maybe even some kind of a character action game. There's not really too much that we get on this. It's hard to really explain what the story is. You play as anime protagonist 1002. It basically reminds me of Kirito. I mean, I'm joking, but it could be, there could be more to him as a character. If these are the same people that have worked on the Tales of franchise, then I do expect there to be some interesting characters in this game, because if anything, the Tales of franchise has always usually had some pretty memorable and interesting characters in their games. So I feel like this probably won't be an exception. However, I'm more looking forward to Tales of Arise from the Tales of people, more so than this game. But this has caught my interest. I do also expect this to be a multi-plat. They did say during the conference that a lot of this gameplay was being captured on the Series X. I would definitely doubt that. I feel like most of this gameplay is probably being captured on a PC, and they're just saying that. They have lied about that before, so I wouldn't put it past them. I'm not saying the Series X isn't going to be powerful, but I don't know. I feel like maybe some of them might have been actually captured on the Series X, but it's just hard to say. I would always take anything like that with a grain of salt. I am interested in Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. We saw a pre-rendered trailer and what looks like probably pre-rendered gameplay for this. I feel like a lot of the gameplay we've seen is not actually like in-engine. It looks like it's probably pre-rendered. Another CG trailer. Doesn't really show us any much more than what we saw in the initial trailer. I am kind of concerned for Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 because of the type of people who are supposedly working on it. And I really don't... I'm not the kind of person that likes to really talk about this sort of thing, because I usually like to just talk about video games or anime, although, of course, because of YouTube, and their copyright policies, that's pretty much impossible for me to do anymore. So yeah, pretty much just gameplay, gameplay, or just gaming in general. But apparently some of the people working on this are really, really far left SJWs, and they may or may not be inserting some of their politics into this game. We did kind of see that in, I believe, a leak that it was either a leak or an article where somebody was reporting on you being able to be a gender fluid or choose your pronouns in this game, and it just seems like something that's really unnecessary. The whole choosing your gender thing, of course, that's something we've always seen in RPGs, but pronouns, that's definitely current day social issues, quote unquote, being inserted into games where it really doesn't need to be. So that kind of turned me off. I'm just hoping, if anything, it's a small thing that doesn't affect the rest of the game, and it's only like in a small portion of the game, if at all. Of course, I don't want this to be in any game, but if it's in there, I really just hope it's an insignificant part of the game that can really be easily glossed over. I am still looking forward to this game. I'm not a big fan of the first game. I do like it, but I haven't really played too much of it, so I can't say I'm like quite as hyped as everybody else is, but I'm still it still has caught my interest. Another really big surprise for me was this game called The Medium. I didn't know what this was at first. When I first saw the trailer, it definitely gave me the Silent Hill vibes, but I knew this obviously was not going to be a straight up Silent Hill game. Konami did say they were interested in going back to Silent Hill, but we all know that if they go back to Silent Hill, it's probably going to be a mess. Unless they get Team Silent back, or unless they get somebody who knows what they're doing, who are experienced with horror games or survival horror, it's going to be a disaster. But this game is... okay, so this is not... Obviously, it's not Silent Hill. It's called The Medium. And I'm guessing it has to do with a spiritual medium, but one of the first things we see, for some reason we see this pregnant woman and basically having, showing her the fetus inside of her, and then we see her praying in a church. It's really hard to figure out what exactly is going on in this trailer, but she's praying in the church. She goes out of the church and everything just starts to change. It reminded me a lot of the Otherworld segments from Silent Hill, so there's definitely a lot of Silent Hill-esque things happening in the game, and not to mention they got Akira Yamaoka, who has been a composer for every Silent Hill game, to come and work on this game. And judging from what we've seen of the gameplay, it does look interesting. It's actually going to be third person, not first person. I don't mind the first person perspective in a lot of the new horror games, but I would like us to kind of go back to not necessarily fixed camera angles, tank controls and all that, but more third person horror type gameplay, not so much not so much of this first person stuff, which is really weird for me to say considering the developers who are working on this game, which is Bloober Team. Bloober Team is known for Layers of Fear, and unfortunately also known for Blair Witch and Observer. Their games have been okay. I've never been a really huge fan of Bloober Team. A lot of their games, while they do have a really good atmosphere, they tend to have a lot of jump scares, and it's more of your typical kind of walking simulator horror game. There's some maybe light puzzle solving in some of their games, but a lot of them aren't really that scary, and they're not really memorable games. So Bloober Team working on this game has me a little bit concerned. I just don't know what to expect. I will say I have to commend them for kind of ditching what they've been doing with a lot of their games since they started, which is, you know, the typical first-person horror game. The first game I saw from them was Layers of Fear, which was a game that really seemed to be heavily inspired by PT, like a lot of the games that came out around that time. And it was first-person, and it had a lot of elements that were very similar to PT. So I will, at the very least, say I feel like these guys are probably fans of Silent Hill, and I feel like they probably really wanted to make a Silent Hill-esque game, and they decided to maybe go back to be, you know, maybe the original Silent Hill, where it was third person and it wasn't anything really like PT. So it definitely feels like this game is more in the vein of the original Silent Hills, or Silent Hill titles, rather than PT. But it's really too early to judge anything about this game. I'm willing to keep an open mind, even though I feel like Bloober Team is kind of an okay developer. They've never really blown me away with their games, but supposedly they are going all out with this one, and I hope that is true. I hope they do put a lot of effort into this game. But, you know, judging from what I've seen, it does look interesting, and I'm pretty excited for it. Now, there hasn't really been anything about the Xbox Series X console itself in this conference, more just games that are coming out for it. A lot of stuff we've already heard about, and stuff I'm not really that interested in covering. Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Don't really care about Assassin's Creed, to be honest. I've just kind of stopped caring about that franchise. There was another game that looked similar to maybe like Turok or something. There was a bunch of dinosaurs. It was, what was it called? Like Second Extinction or something like that. I don't know. It just didn't really catch my interest. So those were the only games that I really wanted to talk about with this Xbox Series X conference. What did you guys think of it, though? Are you excited for some of these games? I would actually have to say the game I'm probably most excited for, even though I did say I feel like Bloober Team is kind of a developer, is probably two games, Scorn and The Medium. Definitely excited for Scorn, also really excited for The Medium. I am hoping that we do get an announcement that Scorn is going to be coming to PC eventually. There's also Yakuza 7. I'm also kind of iffy on that game, considering it's going to be a turn-based game, and it's going to be really different from the other Yakuza games. But again, with that game too, I'm willing to keep an open mind. But again, let me know what you guys think, and until next time, I will see you all later.